Hello and welcome to the OTB channel. This week we're going to do something a little bit different. As people who watch the channel will know, I like playing with different Linux distros and I like fiddling about with different utilities. But one of the comments, the criticisms that I often get is, it's all very well doing what you've just done, but most of us just like to get on with our work and get it done. So I thought, right, okay, well, we'll do a bit of a real world video and we'll look at something that I find myself using all the time back in the real world. And when I'm forced to use Windows, the little tool that gets more use than anything else is the Windows snipping tool. I'm sure you've all heard of it. So I thought it might be quite nice to look at some Linux alternatives. So we'll do that in a second. See you after the intro. Okay, welcome back. So I mentioned last week that I was spending the week in London, out in the field, so to speak. And my goodness, we've had some hot weather, haven't we? I'm glad I'm up in Lancashire now, but it's unbearable still. I'm afraid I'm just not built for heat. So if I'm a bit sluggish today, you'll have to excuse me. But yeah, I was responding to this this statement that whenever I do something and people watch a video and they say, well, most of us like to just get on with real work and you're fiddling and playing with stuff. And part of my answer is, well, yes, I'm fiddling and playing with stuff because I'm a hobbyist. And I assume that many people who watch my channel are also hobbyists, so we all like to fiddle and play. But please don't think because of that we don't also use our computers for real work, as it's called. I do work from home a lot. I try and use Linux whenever I possibly can. It's not always possible, and it's particularly not possible all the time when I'm out in the field. I take two laptops out with me. I have my Windows laptop that I'm given from work, and I have my little X220 ThinkPad. And if I'm doing something like Microsoft Office work that I can use the web version and just log into, or just log into my email account for work on Linux, that's what I'll do. If I'm creating videos for work, I'll use Linux. Unfortunately, there are some tasks where it's just not possible. I work in a company that has lots of dedicated databases that I need to access all the time. And they need to be connected to over a VPN. And the VPN can only operate on one of the corporate machines. And my machine is locked down tight. I can't even change the wallpaper. Couldn't tell you what the VPN details are because I can't get to it. All I do is double click an icon on the desktop and it connects me. That's all I'm allowed to do. So I've done quite a lot of database work this week, updating it for people who are joining the company and for various bits and pieces of my job. And I was actually thinking while I was doing this over the course of the week, okay, well, I'm doing real work all week. What have I mainly been doing? And one of the things that struck me was I had a really poor 4G connection in the hotel where I was staying. And although I could connect to the databases to get the information, it was so slow it was untrue. So I was bringing up a particular form or a particular screen, and I was taking a snip of it with the Windows snipping tool just so I had it for reference. Because I knew that as soon as I changed to a different data source, I'd have to wait minutes till it came up again, and I just wanted something quick to work with. And I realized that actually I probably use the Windows snipping tool massively when I'm having to use my Windows laptop. And it got me thinking, well, what have we got in Linux that does something the same? And I use my Linux computer completely differently to my Windows computer, so I don't take snips as often as I do in Windows, but nevertheless, when I do, I tend to use a command line option using a program called Scrot, or I just use the xfce for screenshot tool, which is pretty good and does the job. But we've got lots of options, and I hadn't really tested them. So before this video today, I had a quick look at what our options are. I asked the Facebook group, my Facebook group, what they use, and I thought it might be quite interesting just to do a quick run through some of the things that you can use in Linux to achieve exactly what the Windows snipping tool does achieve in Windows, but perhaps with a little bit more functionality. And I would say I really like the Windows snipping tool. It's great. So what have we got in the Linux world that does exactly the same? Well, let's have a look. And let's start by looking at that old favourite, Scrot. So you should be able to see my desktop in front of you now. And I've got two windows open. I've got a file manager and I've got a terminal. My default way of doing a snip on Linux, or a selection on Linux that I want to capture into a JPEG or a PNG file, is to use a little utility called Scrot. It's quite a humorous name, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But you can see in the terminal, I've got this command here, scrot -s. That allows me to select a portion of the screen that I want it to capture. And I've then named where I want it to save the file. And in this case, I've just called it logo1.png. I've given it the -d option, which means I want a 2-second delay before it does the capture. Now, in this first attempt, what I'm going to try and capture is this file manager. I just want it to capture the file manager window. So I'll run the command, I'll click on the file manager, and there you go. After 2 seconds, it's taken that. So let's have a look at that, and let's open it in, I don't know, Eye of Marte or something. And let me just move the file manager out of the way. And you can see it's taken a nice little screenshot, which is all good. I've had less success when I want to capture a particular area of the screen. So let's say I wanted, on this wallpaper, just to take a rectangular picture of those leaves, that bunch of leaves there. Let me create another picture. Let's call it logo2.ping. And I'm going to hit enter, and then we'll capture it with a rectangular object. Okay, well, look, you can see something's not quite right there. And if I open up the output, you can see, let me just close these down, that what's happened, it's captured an awful lot of interference there. Now, I have to say that on Marte or Plasma or on a standard desktop environment, I don't generally get that problem. But when I'm using a standalone window manager such as Xmonad or DWM, sometimes it will work, but most of the time, if I'm selecting a particular area, I get all of that interference there. So for me, Scrot is great for doing just a screen grab or to capture a particular window, but it's proved less good for actually doing a specific capture. So what are the other options that are available? So we're back to my desktop, and you can see that I've still got the file manager open, but this time you can see I'm in DWM rather than Xmonad. Yeah, so Scrot, I can confirm that it seems to work better on a full desktop environment than it does in a floating window manager. But on the Arch Wiki, I did note that it says that Scrot can have some glitches, especially in selection mode when you've got refreshing windows. So if you try and take a snip of a web page, for instance, it's quite difficult. Luckily, we have many options that are other command line options that you can go to, but I want to go up to the GUI now. And just about every desktop environment you might want to choose seems to have its own tool, its own snipping tool, if you like. And one of the tools that I've got on here is the xfce4 screenshot tool. So I'm just going to select that and open it. And we'll just move it up here. And you can see it's very simple. There's not a lot to it. I can select the entire screen, an active window, or I can select a region. I can also select the I can't even speak now. I can also select the delay before it takes a shot. So let's try a capture of a rectangle, maybe this area of my desktop wallpaper. So I'll click OK. I'll select that, which seems to have worked okay. And I now get another little screen that says, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to save it? Do you want to open it with the GIMP, Pinter, Chromium, Fay, Shutter, etc., etc.? Do you want to host on IMGUR, which is nice to have the option, or do you just want to save it? In this instance, all I want to do is save it, and I want to save it to my snips directory. So let's just hit save. All good. Let's now open that up. Eye of Marte is always a good one. And you can see it's captured it. Not a problem at all. So the xfce4 screen shooter, or whatever it's called, the inbuilt utility in xfce works really well. Marte has its own version, GNOME has its own version, and it's pretty good. Right, so we're back at the screen. So, personally, I've tended to use Scrot, or if I want to just cut out a rectangle, I've tended to default to the xfce4 screenshot tool. But I thought maybe we've got something a little bit more sophisticated with Linux, because let's face it, we've got programs that will do everything. It's not like Windows where there's just a default selection. We've got lots we can choose from. So I asked in my Facebook group, and one of the first programs that was suggested to me was, let me go into my terminal. It's called Flame. Oops, I don't know why I'm typing capitals there. FlameShot. Now, FlameShot is a little program which, if you install it and launch it, would normally open up in your system tray and give you an icon there so that you could go to a GUI and interact with it that way. I don't have a system tray, so I'm working from a window manager, but apparently if I just add the word GUI, so FlameShot space GUI, to a command line option and click enter, it will now give me a little notice saying select an area with the mouse. So let's select an area with the mouse. Let's select that area. And wow, it's very colourful. And what have we got here? We've got a whole stack of little icons. So set the pencil as the paint tool. Right. So I can actually write. Okay. Underline it. That's nice. Point to it with an arrow. I presume there's ways to set different colours as well. Set the rectangle as the paint tool. Let's draw a rectangle. Set a circle. Okay. Show the dimensions of the selection. I'm not quite sure where that's meant to appear, but hey ho. Move the selection area. So I presume this gives me, like an opportunity to crop, which is very nice. Undo, redo, copy to the clipboard, save the capture, upload to IMGUR, or, what's that? Choose an app to open the capture. Well, that's pretty feature rich, but let's just save the capture for now. So I want to go back into that snips directory and we'll just go with what it's suggested and click save. Capture saved. Right, okay. So let's see what I've got here. Right, so I've got, oops, that's disappeared. There we go. So I've got a fully annotated image there. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how much use it is being able to draw on an image, but I'm sure if you have one of those little tablets where you can draw properly, being able to edit the image that you've captured, pretty good. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with that, in fact. So FlameShot, pretty good. Right, so FlameShot's a real contender there, I think, for a replacement to the Windows snipping tool. Does it inspire me more than the standard xfce 4 screenshot tool? Not really, but if you want to annotate something, that's great. The second suggestion that I had from the guys in the group was something called Spectacle, which I believe is a KDE app, but let's just launch it and see what it does. Okay, so you get very obviously a Qt built application, much the same as FlameShot, and I can select a rectangular region, the current screen, an active window, or the window under the cursor. I can set a delay, so it's 2 seconds there. Do I want to include the mouse pointer? I can set that on or off. So that's all good. Oops. Let me just move this. And let's do something similar. What should I do? Let's just take a new screenshot and... oh, right. There we go. If I hit enter. Okay. Well, that's simple enough. That works very similar to what I'm used to. Just quickly drag and it appears in a box. What tools do we have here? We can send it straight to the printer. We can record the screen. Wow. Okay. What about export? We can export it to another program. We can copy it to the clipboard. Or we can save. Well, let's save. We're going to save it in the snips folder again. So save. Great. And there you go. Does the job. Didn't seem to have the opportunity to annotate that. I might have missed something, but it's quite a simple setup. Okay, all good. Right, so Shutter was the app that seems to be mentioned everywhere as close to the Windows snipping tool as we actually have. Now, that might not be a good thing. I've never used it before. I've just installed it. So let's have a first look and see what it's like. So let's launch it and let's hope it launches. Oh, apparently it has to... okay, it has to upload plugin information. Let's make it a little bit smaller here. And we seem to have a range of different things here. We can do a selection, so draw a rectangular capture area with your mouse, which is what we've been doing. We can select workspace 1, current workspace, limit to current monitor. We can select an active window. We can capture only a section of a window. We can select a single menu or cascading menu. We can capture a tooltip. Oh, no web photo needs to be installed for this feature. I'm not quite sure what that does. But look, let's just go forward and see if it's usable without having to do a huge amount of reading up on how to do it. Let me hit selection and see what happens. The screen is darkening, so let me just draw a rectangular selection and hit enter and see what happens here. Okay, so we seem to have captured that selection okay. Let's just right click on it. Okay, so we have the option to open it in a number of different programs. We have the option to export it, move to bin, redo or run a plugin. What plugins have we got available? Auto crop. I don't know what auto crop is, but let's run it and see what happens. Okay, nothing by the look of it, but hey-ho, I presume if there's a border or something, it will auto crop it. Or we've just got the option to export it. And we can export it to a public host. I've never heard of any of them. To an FTP source, which is quite nice. Or we can choose a folder where we want to export it to. I've selected snips. Let's just click upload. And it appears to have appeared. So let's close that. I quite like that. I like the right click menu that's here as well. Copy file name, copy picture. And let's see what it looks like. Let's open again with Eye of Marte. And I'm going to close all the rest of these windows down. It's done the job. Okay. I'm just mousing in and mousing back. I can't say it's anything special compared to the others, if I'm honest, but it seems to be functional. Look, we've had a quick look. Let's go and have a chat. Right, so this was just a little video looking at a very simple tool that I personally use a lot, or its Windows equivalent. And I think these little simple tools are the things that many users coming across to Linux are looking for. They look for the alternatives that they are used to using. So if you want to do real work and you're not hamstrung like me into a corporate network where I have no choice but to use Windows on occasion, Linux can take over exactly what you're doing already. So what would I use? If I'm honest, I'll probably continue using the xfce 4 tool and Scrot where it's appropriate. I think the others are good choices, and we've only dipped our toes into the possibilities because there are many options in Linux, as there always are, and I'm sure you'll find one that you prefer. So that's pretty much it for today. Hopefully I'm not going to be away this week, so I'm looking at getting something else done during the week. I may continue to look at these real-world tools and to look at some of the options that aren't immediately apparent to me. It's only when you start to think, what do I actually use all the time? I'll have a think and see what we come up with. What I also need to look at is I need to give you all an update of where I'm up to with window managers. You know that I've been going through the tiling window managers, and I went to Xmonad and then to DWM, and I'm just coming to the end of my month with DWM. So I have some conclusions now about what I prefer, so I'll do something on that as well. Before I finish, though, if I could just say thanks for watching, everyone. If you would like to join me on Library, please do so. And I'd really like to thank my patrons and welcome the newest member, Forest Rhodes, who's joined over the last week. But a special thank you also to Corbinian Schilderman, Robert Boudreau, Gary Moore, Aristotelis Papagiorgio, Stormpix, Stephen Cross, Mike Long, David Bird, Entropy UK, Richard Wade, Tiger, Philip Espy, Forest Rhodes. There's an awful lot of you now. Hopefully I didn't butcher any of your names there, guys. Thank you so much. You're making the channel all it can be, and I'll speak to you shortly. Have a great day for those of you who love this heat.